The Week 15 NFL Sunday slate. Significant games, important injuries to detail for you live right here on this Monday on the early line. That means the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chao, joins us bright and early to look back on a Sunday. Dr. Chao, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here, and lots of injuries to talk about, but thankfully most of them are not oh my God or season-ending stuff.
Well, Dr. Chao, it did feel like an oh my God moment about 8 minutes remaining in regulation yesterday between the Browns and the Chiefs as Patrick Mahomes limped off the field with what the Chiefs are calling a high ankle sprain. Of course, that will get a ton of conversation and focus this week around the National Football League. Dr. Chao, you and your team at Sports Injury Central. When you saw the play and the hit yesterday in the fourth quarter in the land, what was your initial evaluation? What do you make of what Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs have said after?
We looked at it and thought it was a right high ankle sprain, and we actually felt that he could return to the game, but Andy Reid was being smart and not putting him back in, and they've said that afterwards. Now, I get it. In the vernacular now, we make a big deal out of high ankle sprains versus low ankle sprains. But just to remind viewers, Patrick Mahomes has played through a very similar high ankle sprain before. Remember back to the 2022 divisional playoffs versus Jacksonville. It happened in the first half. And then the world went nutso when he got sent into the locker room for precautionary x-rays. Then he returned to the sideline, and he did not immediately re-enter the game. And the backup finished the drive and even took the kneel down after that. And I was saying live in my halftime injury chat on X at Pro Football Doc, Patrick Mahomes is coming back to this game, even though he's got the high ankle sprain. He did. They won in the second half. Then after the game, Ian Rappaport said he's got a high ankle sprain. Everyone says he's out for the rest of the playoffs. I'm like, no, he's going to play through. He's going to change his game, change his arm angle, not push off. And guess what? He beat the Eagles that year in the Super Bowl, won the conference and beat the Eagles. He's done this before. Will it affect him? Yes. He's able to modify his game. If he were a running back, this would be a much bigger deal. He's able to adapt. Now, with all that being said, he may miss the next game or two because it's a different situation. It's not must-win for the Chiefs. They play 2 games in the next 10 days, including on Christmas and this Saturday. They're tough opponents, the Texans and the Steelers, but I think it's too early to tell whether he will play or not. But don't worry, in the infamous words of Schwarzenegger, he'll be back. It's just a matter of when, and he'll be back well ahead of the playoffs.
Yeah, we also saw him, Doc, in the Super Bowl get re-injured before halftime and come back in the second half and play very well, beating the Eagles in that Super Bowl. We watched primetime football last night. Seattle, Doc, trying to win the NFC West, but we saw Geno Smith take a shot to the leg and did not return. What's the prognosis for Geno Smith? What did you see?
Yeah, he got hit as he jumped up in the air, and he got hit on the back of the shin, right shin and calf. The good news is, and his knee got folded up. The good news is structurally, we didn't see anything. And sometimes what we don't see is better news than what we do see. And we didn't see anything there. Mike McDonald has said there's no structural damage now. I think it was not impossible that he could return to the game. Obviously, he was hobbled. So I put that right now, unless the MRI surprises us with something like meniscus, which technically I guess is structural, but it's not a ligament. The ligaments are fine. Don't see this as significant right now. And let's hope that the MRI confirms that.
So, Dr. Chao, as we look at some of those contenders around the National Football League, the Detroit Lions yesterday in the highest scoring game of the season against Buffalo have their 11-game win streak snapped. Detroit has dealt with a litany of injuries on the defensive side of the football this year, and even more significant ones yesterday, including Aleem McNeil and one of their best defensive backs in Carlton Davis. After the game, Dan Campbell said both are season ending. Do you agree with the head coach in the Motor City's assessment?
Well, it's hard to argue with a coach that gets a medical report from doctors that examine players versus my looking at video. And that's a pretty definitive statement. Looking at video of Aleem McNeil and then the jaw injury of Carlton Davis, my hope is he means regular season ending and not complete season ending, but it remains to be determined.
Doc, we're going to get to some Monday night football action tonight. You know, the site's been doing very well with some of these at sixscore.com. I'm looking at Atlanta and Las Vegas. There is a big discrepancy tonight between Atlanta and Las Vegas. Can you share some of that insight tonight with us?
Oh, there's no question. You know, the Raiders got lots of issues, and Aiden O'Connell is listed as questionable, but he hasn't practiced all week, even though it's, quote, just a bone bruise. Don't see it likely that he plays. Max Crosby has been now shut down with surgery. They've got defensive issues at cornerback and other positions. So there's no question Atlanta is the healthier side. But then again, you know, Kirk Cousins hasn't exactly been on a hot streak. Six score of the picks, the guaranteed 3-star picks have been 7-1. And I believe the guys have another guaranteed pick for this Monday doubleheader with a free pick guaranteed pick situation.
And you better find that at sixscore.com. That is SICscore.com. Dr. Chao, when we look at the first game of the two tonight in Minneapolis, how do the Vikings and the Bears stack up in terms of the field view?
Well, you know, the Bears are actually relatively healthy defensively. The Vikings know Stephon Gilmore defensively. Overall, this is not a horrible health game, but the Bears have had so many changes that, you know, the coaching staff and other things. The Vikings, you know, need to win, right? The Packers are nipping at their heels, and they're, in theory, if they win, they're tied with the Lions atop the NFC North. So it'll be an interesting matchup for the Vikings.
Certainly will be. 12-2 would be the mark for Minnesota if they can match that of Detroit with a victory over the Bears tonight. The Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chao, as always, we appreciate your time here on this Monday. More on the early line comes up next.